Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leader Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I'm joined today by one of the funniest people and nicest, actually, biggest hearted people on the internet. Welcome, Tina McDonald.
Woo, woo, woo. Thank you very much. That's a really good intro.
So,
I like that one.
Tina's been in my community, what? We're talking, quite a while, actually. I'm like, are we almost a year? Is this almost our relationship versary?
I think, yeah, definitely it was early part of last year I joined, certainly just before Easter, if not, yeah.
So there we go.
Oh, I'll have to get a bottle of bubbly, wouldn't we?
I feel like I should have brought a cake or something.
Definitely.
Amazing. Well, Tina joined my community at some point last year, to be confirmed. And she has come into the community and been a huge part, not only of the free community of Smart Leader Sales Society, but also come into the Dotties community. And that's where, for me, I've really seen you come into your own, and I'm somebody who's always saying to you, I always call you Tina 2.0, because when you came into the free community last year, you were completing some of the challenges and stuff. You've always been a real action taker. But when you came into the Dotties, you drilled it completely down and you were like, right, I'm ready to do things that benefit my business, benefit me. You became eminently more confident. And, you have been the biggest supporter of, I've got to say, every single other Dottie in there. You are like the champion of the gang, really. If anyone's got a problem, Tina is the first one there to offer advice, support, tag relevant people, try and help. And I think it's a huge thing, and when I look at your business and how that's changed, you are like the whirlwind of the education space. You're working with teenagers and helping them see that not necessarily getting the qualifications they want doesn't mean that they can't go on and create a life that they want to live. If they want to do apprenticeships and all this kind of thing, you're the person who's there encouraging them and helping them to get into the world of work. And I think that's hugely valuable.
Thank you very much. I think it's really important. It's an area that I have a personal attachment to. So seeing the looks on these students' faces when they realise that there are futures out there for them it's amazing.
It is. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I keep seeing photos of you with teachers and with students. And I've seen some of the things that the students write about you. I'm like, that could go really badly. But no, they've been writing really nice things about how great you are, as opposed to what I'm sure that I used to write about my teachers, which was, you are a horrific person and you're stopping living my social life.
No, and I think, it's good that we've got beyond them asking me if I'm married now. That was, that was a good barrier to get through.
Yes, that is perfect. And it means, like, officially you only look like 20, which is phenomenal.
I know.
Congratulations.
Obviously.
So what is the formal download on what you do? What is it that people come to you for? So
to try and kind of reduce it, because as you know, I'm not somebody that says things in small words. So rather than this being a 24-hour podcast, I'm hoping that what I do now is give students the belief in themselves that they can be our future.
Yeah.
It's about going into any area of education, whether it be a school, a college, a university, a citizenship apprenticeship, YMCA even, and sitting with students between the ages of 16 to 24 roughly, and just saying to them, you don't have to give up on yourself. They're beyond education, future education, work is not just for people that have gone to university.
Yeah, 100%. And I was actually talking to somebody about this morning, about the degree that I have, which is completely pointless. So for anyone out there wondering, so I went to a really well-known university. I did a great degree. When I look at how often I've used that degree, of which it was psychology and theatre-based, I can say big fat zero. Like big fat zero over the last, 10 years. Unless, of course, you ever watch a film with me, in which case I'm more than happy to explain how Freudian or Jungian principles appear in media. But that is...
but you're really fun to watch a film with.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. try watching something like The Fast and the Furious with me, and I can tell you everything about everyone's mummy or daddy issues, and how it's being conveyed through film.
And I thought I was bad just spoiling the endings for everybody.
I know, right? I can also act like a tree.
Wow.
I know, you guys can't see that because
I can see you being a tree now, which just makes it even more funny that I realise that nobody else can see that.
Exactly.
Even paused.
Maybe I should put a picture up of it sometime. Maybe I will. If you're a regular listener, you should email in and let me know if you ever want to see my tree impression, and I will put that one out there.
I can see a hashtag coming up.
Jess Tree. So I'm really excited to have you on today, because obviously you are working in an area that is impacting the next generation. You know, that's really, really exciting. And it's also really quite difficult because things are ever changing in your industry. And we talk about things changing in other people's industries, but education is one of those things that there are new regulations all the time. We go through teachers like there are no tomorrow. You know, the government is changing regularly. We're putting different focuses on different things, whether it's vocational or academic and all this kind of thing. And the question that you've brought today is kind of around that changing environment. So tell us what your question is.
So for me, one of the big things that I kind of come across is that there are big companies out there that supply kind of career support or career advice. And I'm trying to kind of, as a business, go into these kind of schools and colleges and show them my workshops that are helping with transitional learning, helping with career advice, helping with interview techniques. And how do I stand out against some of these big companies who are providing, in quotes, a workshop that, without sounding a little bit kind of up myself, don't touch what I've got, you know, because I'm coming from writing these workshops from the perspective of how it's going to help these students to develop further. Whereas some of these kind of bigger companies are coming in from I'm going to help the school tick the box to say they've provided a person to come in, provide a little bit of work experience, tell the students how, you know, what not to do in an interview and move on. And, you know, some of these workshops that they don't give any outcomes. There's no further development to them. And I'm struggling in some ways to kind of stand out in front of the bigger companies as a small independent company, when I know that not only do I have a great workshop, but as a person, my USP being me, I really believe in these students and I know I can help them do so much more. It's really hard. And with the new data protection changes, where you're not allowed to just kind of ring up companies and try and sell yourself, you've got to build relationships first and all of those kind of things, it's just going to get harder to stand out against some of these bigger companies. Yeah,
100%. So I'm going to tell you a story. So once upon a time, but in all seriousness, once upon a time, I was working for large companies, and we're talking FTSE 250s, Times top 100 employers to work for, massive brands, well known across the world, multiple offices. And I worked for those big companies. And it was great working for those big companies because when you said a name, people knew who you were.
Yeah.
And that's good. Unfortunately, it's also crap because people already have a preconceived judgment of your company just from the name. And sometimes if you're lucky, that preconceived judgment is good and people have had a great experience with you and your company and you're like, woohoo, thanks to the people who work here. And sometimes the experience they've had is really bad. And that means that you have to jump through extra hoops to warm people up and to, you know, really show them from that personal perspective that you are a representative of the company, sure, but that you're not as crappy as the last person that they spoke to.
Yeah.
The benefit of being an independent, because I went from working for huge companies to working for tiny boutiques who were working in competitor spaces, and then obviously I went and set up on my own. The benefit of working for you is that your USP is always that you actually care, and the big companies can't compete with that because inherently big companies want to care, but they don't actually have the time.
It's not part of their KPI, is it?
Exactly. It's not in their return on investment. Ultimately, companies will say, yes, we care about our customers. And they do. They do have a care that their customers come back. They do care that their customers don't slate them on social media. But ultimately, if they lose one customer, it's sad and it happens. But they can always get another one, is the kind of feeling. The other thing that big companies have problem-wise is that the people they hire, it will depend on who you get on what kind of day as to how your experience as a customer is.
Yeah.
If you're a school hiring a service provider, you don't know what's going to turn up. The person you talk to on the phone might be really lovely, but the person who turns up to deliver the workshop may be completely different.
Yeah, they are an employer, aren't they? Or an employee even.
Exactly. So whilst you can say, our company values are having fun, honesty, customer care, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The reality is that if somebody has just, driven an hour and a half in really heavy traffic, hasn't had a coffee, is really hacked off at their husband or wife or kids for the night before, probably not going to be feeling at their most motivational, inspirational best. Now that's fine. Like, people are people. We can't control emotions all the time, but as a big company, you can't keep in contact with all of your employees every day and be like, hey, Jane, how are you feeling today? Just making sure that you're like buzzed for the workshop this afternoon. That's not possible.
No.
Whereas a smaller service provider actually can. They can provide that care that a bigger provider will not be able to. The other great thing about being a small service provider is that you can actually tailor stuff quicker. Big companies, lots of red tape, lots of politics. If you want to make one change to a workshop, it's not going to happen for, let's say, 8 weeks if everything's going smoothly.
And if they can do it at all.
Exactly. Whereas if a school comes to you and says, actually, we have, a 20% rate of students who have learning difficulties, how can you help them?
Yeah.
You can go, okay, well, here's what I currently have. Here's what I could tailor. Here's what I couldn't. Here's the way that I could teach them versus, the usual way that I teach. And you can make that decision as an independent provider on the spot.
Yeah. And sometimes you do in the workshop.
Exactly.
You can literally say, this is how many people have turned up. Actually, there are a different type of group of students that have turned up to see me today. The presentation can be completely different.
Exactly.
And I can make that choice and I can do it there and then. It's my presentation. It's my words. I haven't copied it from somewhere else. It's completely written from me. Mm-hmm. So I can make it and I don't have to follow the rules. So I've got some silly memes in mine and things like that have been pre-agreed for my children. So I'm not looking like a sad, cool, trying to be mum.
Wannabe.
It has been tested. Do I look like a sad, or am I going to embarrass myself? And it's been approved by a 16 and a 14-year-old. So, I'm in there. But it's being able to make those changes so quickly. Mm-hmm. But that's great when you're in there, isn't it? And you're in the school and you're doing it. It's getting to that point in the first place, isn't it?
And this is the thing. It's about the pitch and it's about how you position your pitch. Big companies will go to schools and their thing is, we can reduce price. A lot of the time, big providers will go, we'll give you a cheap price. Yeah. Because that's really the only place they can compete. And that's only to a certain degree. If you've got a company whose bottom line is, we can deliver this workshop, but it's going to be £200 and that's it. You don't have to compete on price. You get to compete on quality. Yeah. That's very, very different. So you can go into a school and say, okay, well, no, my workshop wouldn't be £200. It'd be £350. But the reason is that, there's pre-workshop care where I'm going to talk to you about your students, about who it is that I'm dealing with on the day. I'm going to run the presentation past you and make sure that this covers what you needed to cover. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to deliver the workshop and I'm going to give you this much time for Q&A. And then in 4 weeks' time, I'm going to give you a call and I'm going to ring up and check on your students and see how they got on.
Yeah.
Did they put the information into practice? Did they need any templates? Like, what's the crack with them, so to speak?
Yeah, definitely.
The company will not do that. No. They won't compete on quality because they can't. They have their prerequisite criteria. They can give what they can give, and that's it. So when you're pitching to these schools, I would be pitching this as look, I'm the bespoke solution for kids who are unique, for kids who don't fit the cookie cutter mold, which is every child. I've never met a teenager that is like, yeah, no, I love being a teenager and it's great and I'm never going to rebel and I just want to work really hard. And
no, they don't do that, do they?
No. I speak from my own experience and that of my friends. But it's that kind of thing where that's how you want to be positioning your pitch. Is not justifying. Like, I don't want you to justify what makes me different.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you make you different. Every service provider will be different depending on the person delivering. What I would be focusing on is your positioning. What is it that makes you want to work with that particular school? Because as a client, I want to work with people who understand my needs.
Yeah.
Who've genuinely thought about, okay, well, what percentage of my kids, for example, are vocational students? Who've looked at the Ofsted report and gone, okay, well, actually, a bunch of your kids have behavioural difficulties.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really difficult for them to sit through an hour workshop with just boring slides.
Yeah.
How about we do this and we make it interactive?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you see what I mean? So it's more about positioning your pitch and going, okay, I can be the tailored solution. So yes, I'm not always going to be the cheapest. And that's not where I want to be, because I want to be the best. I want to be the best solution for kids who really need somebody to care about where they're going in life.
Yeah. And hopefully with my workshops, they should only need it the once.
Exactly.
It's not about having to go in every week of every term and keep reminding these students, because they take away with them this whole kind of pack of information that they can go back on. It comes with your support for their parents. It comes for support for the teachers. And that's all within that one workshop. They're not all separated. And I think that's definitely where you're saying about the pitch. Maybe it's, instead of kind of when we come to talk about the price, which is always a difficult point of the conversation anyway, I'm not particularly expensive when it comes to the pricing anyway. I can't really reduce the price anymore because I'm already kind of at that lower point as it is. So it is about having the time within that conversation to say, okay, well, let me tell you what's within my workshop.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the fact that this big company can provide it because they do it as part of their corporate responsibility and they don't actually charge you very much, but they also rarely turn up when they say they're going to. Let me come along. I do turn up when I say I'm going to, because this is the biggest part of my business. And also with that, let me show you what you get within the workshop and then make a decision.
Exactly. And the other thing is talk about commercial viability. If you're only going in once and they're paying a one-off fee per year, let's say, for you to go once a year and do these trainings, that's actually a lot. It works out to be a lot less expensive than hiring a company that doesn't work and then having to get them back in and back in and back in every week. That in the long run actually becomes more expensive, and actually kids disengage. And that's what you want to be saying in your pitches. Actually, I get the job done in a couple of hours. Support's provided for everybody. As a school how you can go forward and manage the conversation. The parents are provided with support so they can manage the conversation at home. The kids give great feedback, and here's all of the testimonials from kids who've gone on to see great results and who've said great things about the workshop, who've actually enjoyed it and been engaged. What is your current provider doing? Because 9 times out of 10, when we're dealing with corporate clients, and this is very different to the online space, it's something I don't see in the online space a lot often, but when I was working in corporate and I was cold calling companies, they'd always go, oh, we've already got someone that does that. And they try and hang up.
Yeah.
And
I get my copier toner from somewhere else already. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no, we already have someone who does that. Bye. And I would always say to people, how's your experience with that company? And they go, what? And I'm like, well, what's it like working with them? Are they good? And they'd initially be like, oh yeah, they're fine. I'd be like, oh, okay, fine.
Ooh, it's the word fine.
That's not how I want people to talk about my business or the experience with me. And that's when you go, okay, so do your current company provide this entire workshop for parents, teachers and kids in one cost? Oh, No, they don't. Oh, right, okay. Do they also provide you with these kinds of workbooks that the kids and the teachers and the parents can use afterwards? No, they don't. Oh, okay. Would they also provide this? No, they don't. Okay. How good are you feeling about your current provider now? Well, actually, and that's the thing. It's about being bold during those pitch conversations, those calls, and saying to them, so what do you like from your current company, and what actually don't you like? And finding out and then using that and going, oh, okay, well, that's not how my company works.
Yeah.
So if there's something that you think doesn't work in your area, then we don't have to do that. If you've got kids with a high percentage of, attention disorders, then we'll make it interactive versus stare at a screen.
Yeah, definitely.
If you've got kids who your area pretty much they all go and be like hairdressers or whatever, I'll tailor the presentation. It will look like this.
Yeah.
Your current provider can't do that.
No, they tend to, from what I gather from the conversations I've had with the ones that they've actually gone in and done some of these workshops, is that they are generally, it's somebody within the business that's been asked to go along and do it because the company have said that they provide this support for their local schools as part of their social responsibility. And they're fitted in a work day. If work allows it, they're cancelled if work's busy, or if somebody's called in sick and they can't now leave the office. They are somewhere second, third, fourth down the list of priorities for that company. And it's a bog standard kind of couple of slides and somebody in the office who kind of likes working with children that has volunteered to do it. Whereas because this is my business, and the reason it's my business is because I care about the results that these students are getting. I want our future leaders. I don't want these kids that haven't quite got the right number in English and maths anymore because everything's changed this year to suddenly feel like they're failures at everything. And the conversations I've had with some of the students at the first point is that they've decided that there is nothing that they can do because they can't go to university. And that's so not true. And
exactly.
You work with them and the presentation is a guide. There is a few slides that kind of keep the structure of the conversation. So you talk about everything you need to, but the workshops are run as to who do I have in front of me and how can I specifically help them to believe in themselves, to understand that they are the future, and to then actually physically take those next steps. This is not about them just ticking a box and saying, I had a career advisor come in today and she says I don't have to be a hairdresser, I could do this. This is about saying, right, okay, so let's get online, let's have a look, how much do these people earn? Let's get online. How many of those are in Milton Keynes? Is there a market for it? And if there is, okay, where did they train? Let's look at their LinkedIn profile. What college do they go to? Right, let's go and apply at that college, because obviously now we've found 5 that went to that college. We know that that's, a good one to go with. There's so much more specific, tailored support that I get very frustrated. And as you know, I get quite animated about it, because you just get this, it's, these big companies that have got the name, and instantly you're a no, or you're on the back foot because, you're seen as not being able to provide as good a service. And it's so frustrating.
I think it does get really frustrating. I think the things that you've got to look at are wider message education. So you're already doing some things with PR. You've got some big things in the works there. But I would be getting out there and I'd be using opportunities that come up seasonally, like International Women's Day, for example. How many female children are going into vocational careers versus university now? Look at that. Use whatever's going on in the media to generate some PR for your business. And so you actually establish yourself as a name, and you use that to approach the education departments and say, look, I'm doing all this stuff. The big providers aren't. They're not bothered. They're not looking at research. They're not creating anything for you. They're not looking at reports. They're not looking at percentages. They're just doing it because it's a CSR policy.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And I'd be also going to schools and I'd be saying, in a couple of years, this becomes mandatory.
Yeah, it does, 2020.
And that's the thing. So I'd be saying to them, look, in a couple of years, this is going to become mandatory and you are going to have to pay for this service. Now, by that time, big companies will cotton on and they're just going to ramp their prices straight up because you have to. You know, right? There's Jack.
trying to get on live. I managed to keep him quiet the whole time. I knew it was going to happen.
He's lovely though, because he's Dalmatian, so it doesn't matter. But it's that kind of thing where you want to go to them and explain the situation. Look, in 2020, you're going to be having to pay for this, and you're not going to have the choice between somebody who cares and somebody who doesn't. You're going to have the choice between who's cheapest and can come in at the earliest notice,
who's available.
That's a problem. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I'd be saying. I'd be going around and networking in local schools and saying, yeah, okay, you're going to have to pay me now. And that is what it is. The good news is, though, that if you do that, you're grandfathered in to a special, like a relationship with me. We can look at pricing structures that, you know, don't increase or increase by inflation percentage rather than driven up by, you know, monopoly of the market, etc.
Yeah.
You've got lots of reasons that schools should be working with you versus somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about.
And the biggest reason for it is if you wait to 2020, what about those 3 years worth of students between now and then, or 2 years of students that are going to be missed?
Exactly.
You know, the ones leaving school in September last year that are in that first part of sixth form and moving on, the ones going into sixth form in September this year, and the ones going into sixth form next year. So what we're basically saying is, we won't worry about them, because we don't have to worry about it till 2020. But those students, if you look at how many students are in sixth form and colleges and those first, second and third years of college where they're having to resit their maths and English and take an MVQ level 2 and things like that, all of those students add up to several thousand, are going to be completely ignored and gone, well, we'll worry about the ones who are actually probably in year 8 and 9 at the moment. They'll be the 2020 students. Well, you know, what about the big pocket of students that we're going to ignore in between? They're the ones that I worry about, because they're the ones that are going to be, I was going to say on the dole, but that just makes me look really old. They're the ones that are going to be, you know, claiming job seekers or going to the YMCA or out on the streets because their parents have said, right, you haven't got a job, get out. And they've got no couches to surf anymore. You know, they're the ones we're losing, and that's where I think my frustration kind of comes through. Is okay to say, well, the government says in 2020 we have to do it, but we should be doing it right now because that's the right thing to do.
And this is the thing, this is what you need to be telling them, because it's not about, and I always say to people, you know, when I was working in big companies, it was no easier to get business than it was when I worked for small companies, because ultimately people buy from people. It's about you. It's about the relationship that you build. It's about the brand awareness that you build. So if you go and you get PR and you talk about this issue, you know, in local papers, in national papers, about the problems that we have with children who are leaving education, who have nothing to do, that gets picked up. You can take that to the schools and say, look, I'm here as the expert and I'm offering to come and teach your kids, because this is my hometown. This is where ultimately I've got the most tie to who is on or sleeping on the high street at night.
Yeah.
And I want to make a difference to that. So here's how I can do it. When can we talk? You know, you're coming from that position of strength rather than how can I prove to you that I'm different than a corporate? Well, you don't need to prove anything. It's not your job to justify. It's your job to educate them on what the problem is. It's your job to educate them on the solution that you can provide. And it's your job to be bold about the way that you do that, you know, and to show them that actually the differences between working with a big corporate and a boutique are that actually you can be bespoke, you can tailor things, you do actually care, because it's your local environment and it's your bottom line revenue.
Yeah.
And those are big things. True. You know, does that help?
Oh, definitely. And it's the whole kind of light bulb moments, isn't it? It's, you know, it seemed like to be, I was, you know, kind of going round and round thinking this is driving me nuts. I can get out of it. And then, you know, you sit there and you go, oh yeah.
It really isn't about ever trying to compete with a corporate. Just don't bother. That was honestly when I started looking at, when I was working in boutique firms and when I started working for myself, I wasn't interested in the corporates, because I know that within corporates, with the best will of the company, people get lost.
Yeah.
Things happen. Databases don't work. People aren't kept in touch with. Customer service isn't always what we'd like it to be.
Yeah.
You can't control that. But working for yourself, you can. You can control those things. You can directly impact change. You can make decisions at the drop of the hat. You can, compete on quality, which is way more important than competing on price.
Yeah, definitely. And it's about not fearing them, isn't it? Because they're the big corporate companies, you feel like they're obviously going to be better because they've got all of the bells and whistles at their fingertips. They can afford the top technology and all of that kind of thing. But like you say, they've also got all the down drags as well, haven't they? They've got the people working for them that don't want to be there. They've got the people that have been upset by the changes that they've brought in. They've got the fact that their IT department is huge and overworked. Whereas for myself, I'm in control of it all. So,
and that's the thing, you're not there to justify why you're just as good. You're there to educate them on why you're the better choice.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the phrase to go with, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Corporate's corporate. It is what it is. You pay your money, you're a number.
Well, you learn not to compare yourself with the online world, don't you? We spend so much time. I mean, from the dotties and things, we spend a lot of time kind of telling people, don't compare yourself to what other people are doing online. Don't compare yourself to what similar Facebook groups are doing. Don't compare yourself with other Facebook pages. Don't compare yourself with all of these different things. And then you walk out of your front door and you see the big company, and the first thing you do is compare yourself. It's light bulb.
And honestly, everyone does it, and it doesn't change. I've worked with people over the years who've gone, oh, it was much easier when I worked for a big company. It was much easier when I worked for a small company. The reality is, it's as easy or difficult as you want to make it. Yeah. Not everything is going to go your way. Some schools are going to be like, no, I do want a big company because, they can provide this school and whatever else we've got going on. And that's fine. Whatever, let them do their thing.
Or they've got connections with that particular company. And so it's just the way they're going to go.
That's fine. But the important thing is that you ask the question, how are they performing? How many of your kids are actually ending up in colleges? How is that affecting?
I haven't done that. I haven't asked that question at all. It was kind of had the conversation, and I took the no and kind of had a strop, obviously, because that's how I deal with things. But yeah, I hadn't thought about going back. And yeah, as you said it at the very beginning, I remember when I was a receptionist dealing with stationery companies, that would be the way that they would get their way in to see me, to get me using them instead of the others. Is okay. So their pens are cheaper. Do you like the salespeople? And you're kind of thinking, not really. And they're like, well, we'll buy you a bottle of Baileys for Christmas. Come and see me.
Yeah. And it is that. Don't be afraid to ask the question. People might be busy and they might be like, oh, can you do this another time? And that's fine. But ultimately, you've got to be able to ask the question, okay, how are they performing? How do you feel about their customer care? Do they keep in touch with you? How are your kids' rates at going to college or secondary?
And that's the big thing. That's going to be huge, is that question of, okay, so how are the kids performing? Did any of them leave sixth form and go into colleges? Those ones that are in year 11 at the moment that sat through that workshop, how many of them that didn't pass their GCSEs and get the grades they needed, how many of those were confident enough to go off and get themselves an apprenticeship? How many of them did you have to give a sixth form place because there was nowhere else for them to go?
Exactly. These are the questions you want to be asking, because that's how you're going to make the sale happen. Because when people have to face the facts and go, oh, actually this hasn't worked like we wanted it to, and you can prove that it's having a commercial, or it's causing a commercial issue, because schools are businesses like anything else. They've got to justify the numbers. When you can prove actually that's a commercial issue, and if you'd have paid me £300,
it would have been completely different.
And that's where you want to go. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's so helpful. It's certainly given me and not such an argument to go back on, but it's given me a way of negotiating from a no
to
at least a maybe, and then hopefully to some few yeses as well,
Exactly. And the other thing is, always remember to keep in touch with them every 30 days. A no is just a not right now. it doesn't mean it's
Yeah, I'm
always going to be a no.
awful for that. I'm terrible
So
for that.
every
But
Thursday,
I'm going to be good because I'm getting a planner soon.
I know. There's some fillables going out tonight.
Oh, exciting. See, I'll slide that in there.
Very excited. Well, where can people find you, my love? If people are looking to get help with their local area for education, or if people are looking to find out what the best options are for their kids after secondary education, where's the best place for them to get in touch?
So probably the two best places is my website, for one, because the website has all the links to everything that you need, which is www.avalanchecoaching.co.uk.
Perfect.
And there is a huge amount of information and free stuff on there that people can download to help them.
Good.
And then the kind of social media hangout at the moment, the best one for you is LinkedIn, which is under Tina Leigh McDonald, and that's Leigh.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today and with a wicked question. It's always nice to have a question that's a little bit different.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, my love. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and that download button so that you don't miss another one. And I will be back talking to you on Monday with another deep dive episode. See you then.